Hey everyone, welcome back to Q&A Thursday. Rachel here, and I'm just going to dive right into your low content publishing questions. All right, first question is from Kathy. How long do you keep a book on the market if it's not selling, and when do you unpublish a book? So really, you don't have to unpublish a book if it's not selling. Basically, what's going to happen if your book doesn't sell is it's just going to slowly sink to the 7th layer of Amazon hell where no one is possibly going to find it. It's just going to get dropped from the algorithm. But having said that, you might want to unpublish it so that you can remove it from your author page so that you don't have a bunch of books that aren't selling, not clogging up that page. If anyone comes to your page, then, you don't want them having to sift through a bunch of books that no one's interested in. You want it to look like you've got a bunch of top sellers there. So I would say give it about a month or even a couple months if you want to, and then you can go back and track your progress. If you're selling a few here and there, there's no reason to take it down. But, if it's been a couple of months and there has been absolutely no sales whatsoever, then I would say go ahead and unpublish it, and then it'll be removed from your author page. Now, the one caveat there, of course, is seasonal books. There's going to be some seasonal books that just simply aren't going to sell at certain times of the year. So I would just leave those up if you have had some success with them over the season that they have been created for. Then you can go ahead and leave those books up. The rest, it's up to you. You can either leave them there. No one's going to see them unless they come to your author page. And even then, I think those are going to get shifted to the back if they're not selling. But if you just want to clean up your author page so you've only got your top performers there, then go ahead and unpublish them. All right, next question is from Aaron. Aaron wants to know, have you looked into publishing hardcover or spiral bound products via a third party like Lulu, and do you think it's worth the effort? So with this one, I personally don't have any direct experience with those other platforms, but I'm just going to tell you my line of thinking about it. So Amazon by far is the absolute biggest market to be selling books on. And with their KDP program, this is going to be the quickest and the easiest way to start generating money right out of the gate. So I would say this is your best bet to start out with. Now, once you start experiencing some success, if you want, you can go ahead and try out some of those other platforms, especially if you want to start looking at things like hardcover or spiral bound, things like that. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, I know with Lulu in particular, if you publish a book on their platform, you can still sell it through Amazon and other online retailers. But the thing to watch out for is it can take 6 to 8 weeks for your published book to actually show up live on retailers like Amazon. So there's going to be a bit of a lag there. And then if you're using other printers that are not print on demand, that means you're going to have to order an inventory. So now you're dealing with either a stack of books at home somewhere in some dusty corner, or you're going to have to house them at Amazon through their FBA program or something like that. So it just adds another element to things that may or may not work in your favor. I'm certainly not saying don't give it a try, but I think for starting out, this is the best way to get going. And if you have some real success with some of these KDP print-on-demand books, then I would say absolutely if you want to look into how you can expand that. And I have seen there is at least one publisher I know of that has done that, and I've been following them closely over the last couple of years. And I can see now that when I look at some of their books, you can see if it says independently published through KDP, or it used to be CreateSpace. And I see now that they've got their own publishing company and they're no longer using the print on demand. So they have, I'm not sure exactly what platform they're using or what they've done, but I can see that they have now expanded into those different arenas too. And that's great if you want to be able to like you mentioned, do the spiral bound or the hardcover. So I would definitely check that out in the future if and when you experience your success with the print on demand through KDP. Okay, next question is from Judy. How do you use Publisher Rocket for back-end keywords? So this is going to be the same process for all of your keywords. There's not really sort of a different methodology to it. You're just going to brainstorm some keywords around your idea, and you can be finding those on Amazon through the same way that I've talked about in my keyword research videos, and then just start plugging those in one by one into Publisher Rocket. And you're going to see the list of all the related keywords that come up. You're going to see the search volume. You're going to see the search results, which they call number of competitors in that program. And then you're just going to choose, the best, the lowest competition, or even some medium competition keywords around that idea. So if you're validating your idea, you're just going to make sure that you've got at least a few lower competition keywords. If you have some medium ones and one or two high ones, that's okay too. And just keep your eye open for those longer tail keywords for your keyword slots, because that does narrow things down a bit. If you're using the shorter, broader keywords, those tend to be more competitive, but when you narrow it down, that results in those longer tail keywords, and that is what I try to use in my keyword slots. So all in all, it's basically the same process as if you're looking for keywords for your title and subtitle information. All right, so next question is from Sonia, and it kind of riffs a little bit on the last question. Can you please give an example of what to put for a title, a subtitle, series name, and series number for a book series of 3 books in a particular niche? So the main thing that I like to do is just ensure that I've got keywords in all 3 of those slots. So normally what I do, and by the way, everyone's process is different, and I suggest experimenting as much as you can, but this is what I do. I like to put my main keyword of what exactly that book is as my title, and I'll get to an example in a minute. And then for my subtitle, I usually try and put at least 1 to 2 additional keywords. And those keywords will usually just be an alternate, basically like a different way of saying the same thing that first keyword was. And I'll give you an example in a sec. And then I also might include a reference to the design of that book. And that helps to differentiate. Let's say I've just published 10 books in a batch, and I don't want to call them the exact same thing. They might have the exact same title, but I'll try and differentiate in the subtitle. And usually that might be by just calling out a design feature of that particular cover. Or I might differentiate in the title itself if I've got a different catchy phrase on the cover of each one. For my series, I do tend to go a little bit broader just so that I can lump a few different related types of books under one series umbrella, just so I don't have dozens and dozens and dozens of series. I don't want to put a different series for each book that I'm publishing. And again, experiment if you want. This is just how I do it. So here's the example here. So I might have bullet grid journal as my title. And then again, if I've got a phrase on that, I would include that in my title spot. So it might be bullet grid journal, semicolon, let's get organized, or whatever that phrase is. And then for my subtitle, I might do green floral dot grid journal. So I've got dot grid journal, which is just another way of saying bullet grid journal. And then I've just differentiated it by calling out the design. This one's a green floral. And then for my series, I might do something like memo books, dotted notebooks, and scratch pads. So again, those are just a little bit broader. The bullet grid journal could still fall under those categories, but I've gone a little bit broader because I might want to introduce maybe a few books that are scratch pads, and I want to include it in that same series. So that's how I do it. The main thing is just to try and get some additional keywords in each one and to make it sound natural. So one thing I always do is I actually say my title out loud. And if it sounds natural, then it's a go. If it just sounds like a jumble, then I've got too many keywords in there. So that is just like a little thing that I like to do. Bullet grid journal sounds normal. Green floral dot grid journal sounds normal. Memo books, dotted notebooks, and scratch pads sounds normal. There's not too much going on there. So just keep that in mind. You really don't want to be keyword stuffing. because you've still got your description and your 7 keyword slots to get all of those other keywords in. All right. Kelly wants to know, what should you do to widen your search for a new niche when you feel tapped out of ideas? So basically, the one thing that I always do is I just browse Amazon. There's nothing really, it's not really anything too exciting or some big secret. Like, I just get onto Amazon and I start looking at what other people are doing. And if I come across an author name that's got a bunch of bestsellers, or they've just got some books that are doing well, I'll click onto their author page and I'll check out their entire catalog and I'll see which books of theirs are doing the best, and I'll just see if there's a way for me to cash in on whatever they're cashing in on. And of course, you don't want to copy them, not their designs. An idea is an idea, that's up for grabs, but you just obviously don't want to be copying someone's design or their interior. You want to have your own spin on it, but you're just looking for niches that they've obviously tapped into and are doing well. And I like to just think about how I can improve upon that. So I might even go in and look at some of the reviews of some of their books, see if they've missed anything. Is anyone complaining about anything? And I want to be able to create a book that's at least as good as, but hopefully better than the one that they've produced that's doing well. So honestly, that is what I do pretty much every time I feel tapped, and I usually get some good ideas out of it. I've come across books, types of low content books that I've never even heard of before, just doing that. So that's what I do, and that's what works for me. Okay, Kat wants to know, when you find a niche that is selling in both the US and UK markets, do you customize the interior for each? And do you publish it under the same author? And what about pricing? Okay, so I do target both the US and the UK, and I will often create the same interior, but then I do customize each one. And this is mostly for spelling, because the spelling is different. This is easier for me because A, I'm from England, and then B, I also grew up in Canada, so I know all the different spelling variations already. The other thing is colloquialisms. So maybe I've used some quotes or some sort of trendy phrases that may be popular in North America right now, but in the UK, they'd be saying something totally different. Especially like the millennial speak and stuff like that. There's a whole different jargon that people in the UK use, obviously. So if I'm using any of that, I would swap that out depending on what market I'm trying to target, but it is essentially the same book. So I've just made a couple of different customizations, mainly around spelling or use of any sort of colloquialisms. Now, you can either use the same author or a different author. If you're using the same author, then I would recommend differentiating your book in the UK market by just saying you can use in your subtitle or something UK edition. And I've done that before. Or you can just do it under a completely separate author name. And then that way you're kind of keeping your brands separate, if that makes sense. And you're not confusing customers that are coming to your author page. All right, Carrie wants to know, would it be all right to just have a few pen names? What benefit is achieved by having a pen name for each niche category? So yeah, I would definitely recommend keeping your pen names as few as possible. You don't want to have so many that you can't manage them all. You do want to be able to manage each one. But I would definitely try and do a few where you can group loose themes under. So I've mentioned before, you can either group it under niche or theme. So you could do all of your journals, and that might include line journals and gratitude journals and dot grid journals. You could group all those together. That makes sense. But then maybe you've got a bunch of children's activity books, or maybe they're adult ones too that, don't have any swear words or anything. And you could group those under another pen name. So you could do it like that. You don't have to get super granular where like all the line journals are under one pen name and all your dot grid journals are under another pen name. I think that's just going to get too confusing and it's unnecessary. But grouping them loosely does help so that you can keep separate the different disparate niches. And then the other way you can do it is by theme, which is something that I started doing this year, which I'm kind of liking. That just allows you, I think anyways, to build a bit more of a brand around a particular theme, which is nice because, you know, let's say it's a dog theme and you've got this pen name called, like, I don't know, Dog Lovers Club or whatever, something better than that, hopefully. But then you're attracting people that are really interested in that specific theme, so they might be more inclined to buy more than one book. If they buy a really cute dog-themed planner, then they're suddenly seeing all these other cute dog-themed things, like, oh, there's a notebook, there's a gratitude journal. Like, somebody might be more inclined to purchase several more of your books. So that's why I like the theme way of doing pen names. So either of those work, and yeah, I would... Like I said, I would do several pen names just to kind of keep things loosely categorized, but I wouldn't do so many that you've got dozens to keep track of. I don't think that's going to be beneficial to you at all. All right, last question is from Sylvia, and Sylvia wants to know, how can I properly quote Bible verses? So this one's a little bit tricky, but the gist of it is all the original manuscripts for the Bible are in the public domain. Obviously, they were written a long time ago, but all, you know, those manuscripts have all been translated into what we have as a Bible. So, and there's all sorts of different versions and different translations. So there's really only a couple that you can kind of freely quote from, and one of them has a caveat. So the first one is the World English Bible that is completely in the public domain, and I will leave a link to that below in the description, and that's going to list all the different versions that you can use that are in the public domain. But the main one is going to be this World English Bible. You can use that on anything you want. It's completely in the public domain. The one complaint I've read about that Bible is that some people don't really like the way certain parts of it have been translated. So when you're reading it, it might not sound like natural English, if that makes sense. So if you've got a particular Bible quote in mind, and then you look for that exact verse in the World English Bible, what you see in that Bible might be, well, it will be different than what you're seeing in the Bible that you have in front of you, and it might not be as nice sounding, or it's just something to take note of when you're doing that. The other version is the King James Version. Now that is in the public domain basically everywhere except the UK. So the UK, there's a particular publisher, they've got all of the rights to that Bible. So if you're going to be quoting it in, the United States market, that's fine, but you're not going to be able to sell any of them in the UK. So keep that in mind. That might be enough to just make you stick with the World English Bible. And then with the King James Version, I would definitely double check on this website link just what you need to do in terms of attribution, just so that you've got that down, because I didn't get that granular when I was looking at it. But those are kind of the two that you'll be able to pluck quotes from. World English Bible being the main one that you don't have to do any attribution or anything. It's fully in the public domain. Just keep those things in mind that I just mentioned. Okay, that is it. One final thing here. A couple of people in the group mentioned that they were interested in seeing me do a critique on someone's low content book. So let me know in the comments below if you're interested in either seeing a critique of one of your guys' low content books, or if you're interested in participating and having your book critiqued in the group. I could do that either on one of these Q&A Thursdays, or maybe I could set up a live sometime and do it that way. Just let me know what you think. And if there's enough interest, then we can do that soon. So thanks, guys. Have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye.